Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet vyasam vasishtanaptaram shakte pautramakalmasham parasaratmajam vande sukatatam taponidam vyasaya vishnurupaya vyasarupaya vishnave namo vai brahmanitaye vasishtaya namo namaha. Let us pray to Vyasa Bhagavan to give us the right thought process so that we can dive into some of his deep futuristic wisdom. A lot of people in this generation, if you ask them what are the Vedas, they don't even know the names. As sad as it might be, the Vedas used to be in the family, and in different families they had it all scattered. It was going through Karna Parampara, one family for the father, son, like that. So it was Vyasa, out of his grace, collected all of this and he codified them and he categorized them into four: Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharvana. Apart from that, he wrote, out of the 18, he wrote 17 Mahapuranas. The 18th one, Vishnu Purana, was by his father Parashara, and he also composed the Itihasa and Purana combined, two in one, that is Mahabharata. It is also referred as Panchamo Veda, the fifth Veda, because in this Mahabharata you have Bhagavad Gita, you have Viduraniti, you have Yaksha Prashnam, you have Vishnu Sahasranama, Shiva Sahasranama, Sanat Sujatiya, and so on. The treasures found in Mahabharata are so great that it will take us multiple lifetimes to even enjoy each one of these treasures. Apart from that, when he had given all this, he also gave us Brahma Sutras and he also gave us Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam is completely focused only on the different Leelas of Bhagavan, and in that Srimad Bhagavatam there are a lot of hidden gems as well. Like you have Uddhava Gita, you have Hamsa Gita, you have Gopi Gita, and you have so many treasures like that. You have Puranjana's story and many treasures in that. Now many people, when they think, hey, who is the coolest of all seers, like people who can see the future and tell, like we will all say like Nostradamus. See, Nostradamus got a lot of the events and the person, hey, some big king is going to come and things like that. But what Nostradamus or any of these prophecy makers have failed to give is the exact nature of human mindset. They have not given like how will people behave in a certain yuga, or how will people feel in a certain yuga. Now the most interesting thing when we are talking about the prediction, in the 12th skanda, there are 12 skandhas or 12 books if you want, or cantos if you want, in Bhagavatam. In the second Adhyaya, Vyasa has given the characteristics of Kali Yuga. Now, we all have heard Kali Yuga, and we all have also heard the different yugas. There are 4 yugas. You have Krita Yuga or Satya Yuga, which is made perfectly, the golden age, if you want to call. Then you have Treta Yuga, you have Dwapara Yuga, and then you have Kali Yuga. Now the interesting thing is each one is double the size of the smallest one is Kali, and each one it comes in a ratio of 4:3:2:1. Now the interesting place where we get confused with Kali Yuga and Yuga calculation, there are 2 different levels of Yuga calculation. There is a Yuga calculation that is there at a human scale, and then there is a Yuga calculation that is there in a cosmic scale. So the most frequent confusion a lot of people get into, like most of us get into, is because we have a scholarly attitude towards these numbers, and so we look at the cosmic numbers, which are bigger. They are running in lakhs of years. Using this cosmic number, we can probably understand the different events that are happening in the universe, but unfortunately we tend to transpose them and we'll apply the same scale for the different avatars. So I would recommend, if people are having a lot of questions, to study a scholar. She is a PhD scholar in Indian astrology. Her name is Jayashree Saranathan. I would recommend all of you to go and follow her blog, and you will be able to get a lot of information. And she also has recently published, like a month ago, Mahabharata 3136 BCE, where she establishes the date of Mahabharata, when it happened, how it happened, so on and so forth. So I would recommend people to go to her blogs and also buy her book if they are interested in knowing the difference between the cosmic scale and the human scale. Right now our goal is to look at the characteristics of Kali Yuga. Now this is an interesting aspect interesting endeavor we are taking. I'm not sure if in the English forum I have already given a talk on the different nature of Kali, but definitely in the Tamil arena I have given a talk, and if I have not given that talk in English, I will shortly make that. That talks about Parikshit encounter with Kali Purusha, where you get a different dimension as to what exactly happens. But today's focus is going to be what are the predictions of Vyasa that is happening right now, and how many we can validate. Now, if you say that you validate everything, then you know that you are already in Kali. The talk is going to be to make us think along the lines of Vyasa. Our agenda is not to bring and have a common what is happening around us talk. Although for a large part of the talk, one will feel that, hey, are we talking only about day-to-day things? No, we are only talking about what Vyasa is talking, and the entire focus is only on Vyasa. I can vouch for that. So the first thing is, in that story where Parikshit meets the Kali Purusha, he encounters a bull. The bull is actually Dharma in the form of a bull, and the bull is trying to console Bhudevi, who is appearing in the form of a cow. This Kali Purusha, dressed like a Kshatriya, but he is not a Kshatriya, is beating up this. Of the 4 legs of the bull, 3 are already broken. It is standing on only 1 leg. Now, again, this is a metaphor. So don't take a metaphor and say like what exactly is, how can the center of gravity of a bull support 1 leg and that sort of thing. We are not talking about that. We are talking about a metaphorical bull. And what Parikshit observed was there are 4 legs for Dharma to stand on. The first one is Satyam, truth. The second one is Shaucham, cleanliness. Third one is Kshama, forbearance or patience. The fourth one we are talking about is Daya, compassion. As we can look around 50, 100 years ago, a traveler could walk from any place to any place. He or she could stay in your front courtyard, sleep there, get food and carry his or her journey. There were no hotels. What happened to that compassion today? Today, if you have that compassion and if you take pity on a guy and say, okay, first of all, there are no front courtyards and things like that, no, a special arrangement. But even if you give that, take that extra daya and give it, that person is 100% going to exploit you and take advantage of you. So people are saying like, why should I bother? So we have gone backward on daya. Same thing with forbearance, right? So many things like we don't have the patience to bear with it. Now, there is no reason to bear with an adharmic injustice, but for even small things can piss off people big time. And not to talk of cleanliness, right? I'm not talking about taking bath kind of cleanliness. I'm talking about having that mental, spiritual cleanliness, or for that matter even fiscal cleanliness. Do we even have that fiscal discipline with our own money? Forget about handling others' money. So Shaucham, Kshama and Daya have gone to the wayside, and we are standing only on Dharma or Satyam. We are only standing on Satyam. Now this understanding was already given from Parikshit's account. Now we also know there is one more thing that is happening in Kali Yuga. One interesting thing that is happening due to the Kali Yuga time is the duration of life. Now you are saying like, hey, everybody is living 80, 90 years ago, grandfather time and all, they used to die of dysentery, this, that, they used to die in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or due to war or something. But if you really took apples to apples, you compared a person who lived 200 years ago, 500 years ago, and if he lived till 80, and you take a guy who is living 80 today, is the quality of life same? Will you be willing to wager a bet that it was all perfect it is all perfect today. The second thing is, you look at the strength. If you ever have an opportunity, go to any old museum, you look at the armor what people wear, how heavy it is. For you and me to just wear that armor, forget about fighting, even standing up itself is a battle. So in terms of strength, we don't even have a fraction of what we used to have. And in terms of memory, no need to even tell. Like back in the day, the people used to memorize entire Ramayana, entire Mahabharata, entire all the Vedas. Like the people who used to know two Vedas were called Dvedis. But today, like, we don't call that Dvedi or whatever, right? People who knew three Vedas were called Trivedis. And people who knew all four Vedas were called Chaturvedi. Yeah, today only we have the diaper man, president of a party who knows all the Vedas, who calls himself the Brahmana, right? So our memory is kind of like very choppy nowadays, and that's a big, big fall thanks to Kali Yuga's effect. Now, we are going to go into the characteristics of Kali and how it has been affecting our life and what we can look at it and how we can turn around. We are going to look at the hidden message of Vyasa in the end, because we don't want only gloom and doom, we also want how to turn this thing around. Again, there is a accompanying blog pinned on the top. If you want, you can go and look at it. And so in Vyasa says, Vittameva kalau niranam janmachara gunodaya. What he says is, people will think that wealth alone is the main qualification. Even if you have no real good characters, you may be even struggling to add two numbers, but still people will think that this person is so. You can be the chief minister, you can even be the potential prime minister candidate forever, perpetually, from your for the last 15-20 years you are perpetually the potential candidate according to the Latvian's media. So a person will be considered as a person of noble birth. Great qualities will be attributed to that person even though they may have none, as long as they have only money. Then the second thing is, Dharma Nyaya Vyavasthayam Karanam Balam Evahi. So when people have power, now we saw that if people have money, they will be deemed as powerful. If people have money, they will be deemed as of good birth, right? Now, because they are deemed as good birth and they are having all the power, whatever they say will be the rule. Is that happening today? Just think about it. You saw a bishop who was convicted for raping a nun, but could easily walk out as being guilt free. Well, whether he pays his karma phala or whether something happens, we don't know. But he was easily able to negotiate the so-called law and justice of the land. We saw how in Nirbhaya's case, a fake reasoning that a boy was minor was easily given as a reason to get off such a heinous crime. So if you have connections, if you have power, you will be considered as the person in Kali Yuga. Now, if I didn't tell all these things, you will be thinking I am talking about current affairs. And that is the beauty of Vyasa. He is spot on. He is so accurate. And sometimes it makes us shiver what kind of timeline we are. Now, there are some good things in Kali Yuga also. We are not going to go into those aspects, but we are just understanding what are the primary characteristics of Kali Yuga. Dampatye abhiruchir hetur mayyeva vyavarike sritve pumsatve cha hi ratir vipratve sutram eva hi. Let's break that down. Dampatye abhiruchi. So, husband and wife equation, their attraction is only because of physical attractiveness for their bedroom skills, nothing more, nothing less. Maybe their power. So you look at how wealthy people, you saw the fall of the great Bill Cosby. You saw the shame of Bill Gates or Bill Clinton. I don't know what is with the Bill. It comes with the bill, I think. You saw that even how so many big names have cheapened, like even Jeff Bezos for that matter. He is not a saint. And you don't have to even talk about Elon Musk. He is another character, quite a character. So all these guys, what are they doing? They are not interested in any of their great, it is either money or what happens in the personal quarters in there. What should be confined in their bedroom is what is dictating. And whether it is a positive thing or a negative thing or a spillover from that, but that is exactly what is happening. And then the second thing that is interestingly that is happening, when a person is making a lot of money, we consider that person successful, even if he does by fraud. See, we have to look at larger picture. Take for example the coffee day guy who committed suicide. The guy was successful, but he had borrowed so much money and his entire success was on borrowed money that it could not make sense. But people thought he was successful. Same thing with China. Take my word, another 10-15 years and then come back and tell me why I made that bold statement today. They built one of the most fantastic network of bullet trains or high-speed trains in the world. You take all the world's high-speed network, that still is only a fraction of what is in China. And all this miracle has happened in the last 12-13 years. Right? But at what cost? They got $1 trillion almost debt. They can't even run a train service and make it pay on most sectors. They can't even make it pay for, even forget about maintenance. They can't even pay for the electricity bill. But still they are running it. Well, that's so what we think is whatever, if somebody can make it look cool and nice and bright, we think that is success. We don't see what real success is, and that's exactly what Vyasa is telling us. And then what a man and a woman, again there is a lot of man and woman equation here, because human beings, right? It's only man and woman. Unlike today, we have all sorts of new categories that have been invented. Now, Vyasa would have to go for therapy if he probably saw those things. Or maybe he saw that and he chose not to tell us. But he does say again and again and again that a human mind is reduced, the human interaction is reduced to only a sexual interaction. Now he makes a bold statement. Vipratve sutra eva hi. Now Vipra is a person who is what we call as a Brahmana, who has officially undergone some training. He has learned some scriptures, not merely by birth, but according to what Vyasa is saying, and you turn around and look at anyone in the society, anyone wearing a sacred thread is considered as a Brahmana. In Tamil Nadu, we have the worst drama company, that is the ruling party. So last week they had 3 guys from the drama company wear this sacred thread, brand new, just in that morning, paint their foreheads with Vishnu's insignia, and they went campaigning people to people saying that please vote for the worst ever anti-Hindu government that existed in the country. Since the time that guy has gone into the post last 6 months ago or something, he has destroyed more than 130 Hindu temples. Can you imagine a so-called namesake Hindu guy destroying more than 130? The guy is putting the Muslim invaders to shame. Tipu Sultan will hang himself. Ghajini and Gori Muhammad will think like, man, why didn't we think like this dude? And that guy is doing a drama company. How? He is putting people a sacred thread because it doesn't cost anything to buy one and wear one. And you can also put any insignia in the drama company, and you can do that. That is exactly what Vyasa has cautioned us. Anyone wearing the sacred thread will be mistaken as someone who is a Brahmana. Then we also make one more big mistake according to Vyasa. It says Lingameva Ashrama Kyatau. What we think is the insignia. So what are the 4 ashramas we have? We have Brahmacharya, we have Grihastha, we have Vanaprastha, and we have Sannyasa. So how do you know a person is from which ashrama? Typically it is based on their character, guna and karma. Whereas the today's scenario is different. Today's scenario, we look at if a boy is wearing a school uniform, then he is deemed as brahmachari. But if you really see what happens in high school, the number of girlfriends, boyfriends, forget about all the junk that is going on in the school system today. You will be ashamed that if a Grihastha was given an early start. We don't understand. If the person is looking younger and we assume that that person is not wearing a uniform, we say like, okay, college going person. That has got nothing to do with brahmacharya. When we reduce brahmacharya to a non-marital state, that is the shameful thing we have done already. And then If somebody is going with a person of other gender, we assume that person is a grahastha. We assume that person, if we find them very close and a lovey-dovey kind of thing, we assume that they are in grahastha ashrama. But today we know that we have all this live in, live out, all sorts of nonsense we have. So that external symbol is misunderstood. Like if there are so many people with big dadi, like they come and give you talk, and you think these new age babas are all like, oh, these are sannyasis. Who said they are sannyasis? Or we look at they have an ashrama or they have some clothes, and we say that, oh, these people should be from this spiritual order. That is not true. Then we also make another interesting assumption which is wrong. If somebody is not making a living, we assume that person is a bad person. Imagine this society even 100 years ago, 200 years ago, even for thousands of years, the 3 ashramas were completely supported only by Grahastha ashrama, and the rest of them came and took bhiksha. Now I am careful not to use the word begging, because today beggars are strategically deployed for spreading one of the desert cult. It's almost like they got routes, they got a collection quota. It's almost like a business. But if you looked at the past, from where we have fallen, the people who were brahmacharis, vanaprasthis and sannyasis were all supported by only grahastha ashrama. So we never looked down upon the person's monetary status and said like, hey, the poor man is always a bad man. But we do make that assumption. And increasingly this prophecy also becomes truer and truer, because we are setting the boundaries for people to operate it in that way, so they begin to operate only that way. Then the next one is even more interesting. Pandite chapalam vacha. When a person is good in wordplay, U-turn. Hey, you go and ask in Pakistan, every day Imran Khan makes a U-turn. But the followers of Imran Khan think that he is so smart that he could adapt to any situation. That is what these blind followers think. Now, reason why I say Pakistan is we can always look at them for extreme information. But if you look at even in India, there are people who, you see how this burqa episode happened. It's still happening. You see characters like Malala. 2 years ago she said burqa is very bad. And when the issue is happening in India, she, being such a shameless scum, is telling that no, burqa is okay, because in India they are oppressing women. So what happened to her situation? Why she was pumped bullets and by the... It doesn't matter. That is what we consider them as intelligent. If you consider Rihanna as an intelligent person just because she can take a stand every day, just what kind of nonsense our mind is messed up with. So we don't understand. We consider a person who is good and glib, smooth, who can change and talk anything. You can make potato gold in a factory. One side you put potato, you can get other side gold. And you consider that is intelligence. So if the people are following such kind of brilliance, so what kind of deep tamas we are in? And that is exactly what is Vyasa cautioning us. Again, we are not talking about what is happening in day to day life. We are only reflecting on what Vyasa is talking about and what Vyasa is only referring to us.
Papa, you're so loud.
Go, Yuta, go! Idiot! So we are talking about what Vyasa has been. We have been talking about what Vyasa has been telling us, cautioning about the evil effects of Kali. So a person, if he doesn't have money, will be judged as like a bad person. But if a person has money, even if they do bad things, we will not deem them as unholy. We already saw the case of Bishop Mulakal. Now he is kind of like repeating this again and again, and my understanding of this repetition is to highlight the sad situation we are in. Okay. Now there is also one more thing. There is a lot of hypocrisy that we see all around us, and now hypocrisy is considered as a great virtue, if you will. So what people are saying is, hey, you know what, the person is coming and giving you talk, like for example take Tamil Nadu government. They say we care about people, and they have opened an alcohol shop and introduced alcohol to people who were not addicted, and they have made them completely addicted. They are draining the people's health and filling their personal pockets, and still the state is running a massive deficit. Now this is outright hypocrisy, but we consider that, oh, you know what, there are so many problems running a government, and it's considered as a virtue. Then there is an interesting concept which I would like to highlight what Vyasa has told. It is called Skvikara evacha udvahe. What that means is, see, in Sanatana Dharma, marriage is never a contract. Marriage was never a contract. But if you look at the Abrahamic religions, both the coming of a marriage and the dissolution of a marriage is only verbal. So two people say that I want to get married in Christianity, for example. One guy who is either a government or a church official, in front of them they say, I take this person as a husband, and the other person says, do you take this person as a wife? That's it. It is just verbal acceptance. And when they want to dissolve, they pay, like I was seeing a sign yesterday while driving, that you have to just give $1,250 flat. You will get a divorce. No questions asked. Wow. It's become worse than buying brinjals and carrots. You have a flat rate, and the contract can be dissolved. It's just a contract, right? So there is another interesting thing. The another interesting thing is, in the Islamic world, which we all know, a person can just say talak, 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 and that's it, done. It's again a verbal thing. These practices were never there during Vyasa's time. How could Vyasa see that? Now, how could Vyasa see that? That answer is very easy for us to tell. We already started by saying Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya, Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave. We already started with the worship of Vyasa, right? So, in the same way, we find that this verbal agreement, now this verbal agreement goes even further. The verbal agreement goes to today's dating culture, today's live-in culture, today's one-night culture. They don't care about whether they want to be married or not. They just want that physical interaction, and they are happy to have that with a verbal agreement. Hey, today, that's it, done. So, Svikara eva evacha udvahe is a very interesting observation of Vyasa. Then he makes another interesting comment. Snanam eva prasadanam. That means we take snana only for decorating ourselves. Man, I stink so much, so I need to take a bath. Snanam is never viewed in the form of cleansing the mind. Snanam is never understood in the form of cleansing our antaratma, which used to be the case. You take, for example, any ritual we do, and we do standard formula is there. We do pranayama, you do achamana, and things like that. So we don't just take bath only for the sake of having a nice bath and decorating. We take bath for purification of the mind also. And unfortunately, that is gone according to Vyasa in Kali Yuga. Now, we are getting into more interesting ideas what we see today. Let's say that you are in a place where there is a famous temple. It could be any city. In India, every place is holy. Unlike other countries where they have one holy site or two holy sites, in India, Bharatavarsha, every millimeter of this country is holy. It is okay. We used to go for kshetra, tirtha, and things like that. Why? Because there is something so unique in that place we go and see. But not at the cost of ignoring what is in the local place. Never. Take for example, if there is a Vaishnava in Sri Ranga, that Vaishnava in Sri Ranga will consider not only Sri Ranga holy, but he also has to go to Tirupati. He also wants to go to Badrinath. But he will not say that Badrinath only is holy. So, what is the point of me going to temple in Sri Rangam? Right? If somebody is living in Kashi, and if they are a Rama Bhakta, they will obviously see, yeah, Ayodhya, great, we need to go to Ayodhya, that is also great. Now, he won't say Kashi is useless. But today's mindset is, Duravari Ayanam Tirtham. Durevari Ayanam Tirtham. That is, if whatever is the far off place is great, it's like that place is only a Tirtham. Not where I am, not what is easy, what is accessible. We don't give. So it has to be something far off. That is the mindset even today we can see. We don't need to go progress in Kali to understand that. Lavanyam Keshadaranam. A lot of women can vouch this. Especially the younger women, they would definitely know what I am talking about, and it's true for men also. Now they say like some women, if they are born with straight hair, they give a lot of money to go to parlor and they make it curly. And if women, if they are born with curly hair, they give a lot of money to make it straight. So they think a lot of, and if somebody is having cancer and they shave off their head, whether it is a guy or a girl, there is a lot of shame that goes, especially if it is a lady. And it is a real thing. I'm not telling that if you know someone who is going through cancer therapy and things like that, and due to the therapy, if there is a hair loss, there is a significant psychological stress to that person only from the hair or the lack of. Like I was listening to Swami Tejomayananda, he said there are three types of hair. In India we have what we call as the center line for the hair, like we part the hair, right? Like you have parted hair, and some people don't part the hair, whether it is in the center or side, they don't part the hair. So we have unparted hair. And then there are people who are bald, right? So they have departed hair. So hair seems to be an interesting idea, and that subtle information has been captured in Bhagavatam. Udaram Bharta Swartaha. So, however I fill my stomach, that's all that matters. Now, if I can fill my stomach by hook or crook, that is acceptable because I am making a living. Technically, I am making a living, right? Then there is another interesting thing where a lot of people, in those days, people ate for their well-being. But today you go and see in YouTube how many channels are dedicated to only eating, going to hotel, cooking, this, that. That is the number one thing a lot of people make money on. People live to eat. All the metabolic syndrome diseases what we see, whether it is blood pressure, which can be reversed, diabetes, which also can be reversed, but your doctor doesn't want to tell you that, nobody wants to talk about that, because if you do that they will lose business, and a whole range of other diseases, whether it is PCOD, whether it is all sorts of things, you can reverse it by what you eat or don't eat. These are called metabolic syndrome, metabolic disorders. But that is exactly what Vyasa has said, Udaram Bharta Swartaha. And then there is a person, Satyatve Darshayam Evahi. Now, a person, if they are talking very loud, we believe that person is talking truth. I raise my voice. One person who uses this to the fullest effect, whether he is right or wrong, on many cases, you see Arnab Goswami's channel Republic, he uses this principle to the fullest effect because he has got such a loud voice. He can make any person look silly by just raising the voice and make it sound that he alone is speaking the truth. Now, on many cases he may be, but not in all cases. So that is an interesting observation from Vyasa. Dakshyam Kudumba Bharanam. If I can run a family, then I am considered as a great guy. Because even if you are having an insurance, at least abroad, if you are a family man versus you are a single guy with the same age, let's say you are 40 and you are married, and you are 40 and you are not married, there is a difference in the insurance, especially for car. They factor these kind of small things. And the interesting thing is, Yasho Arte Dharma Sevanam. So, Yasha means like what? Fame. Yasho arte dharma sevanam. When you follow anything, how many of you go and see, just to go, if you have a Twitter profile, just go and see, scroll 10 pages. If somebody is connected to someone who goes to temples and things like that, you will find this guy, hey, you know what, I'm going to temple, take a selfie in front of the temple. You are going to a temple, you could take that without you, right? You could just take the picture of that GoPro and you could put it. The person has to have a selfie, and in that selfie it is they who are important, and it makes them famous. So only for the sake of popularity they will go, hey, I went to 10 temples in 5 days, and look at the selfie and you have to give me like. If no one ever gave like, the guy would never go to the temple. And that is so true. We are having a situation where whatever we do is only for the sake of fame, name, what I can extract out of it. You give a small tube light for the temple, but in the wrapper around that you put your name so big that there is no light coming out of it. You say like country donated by so and so. The name is so big that there is no light coming out of that bulb anymore. They did one cleaning of the temple, but they put such a big board that I have cleaned, and they have blocked all the vigrahas, all the statues that are there in the temple pragara. Now there are other interesting aspects that are going to happen. The most interesting thing that is going to happen is people who are outright thieves, bad people, they will start becoming the power centers. You saw in Bengal how one oppressive party that ruled for decades was replaced by even more bigger oppressive party. You see, in Tamil Nadu, I already told that there is a openly Hindu phobic, anti-Hindu government that wants to stick to that by promoting anti-Hindu causes. So power, same thing is happening in Andhra. And they are consolidating that power because whoever can control, it doesn't matter that person has to be from a good guna and karma background, because the population is corrupted. See, normally they say yata raja tata praja, but now in prajatantra it is opposite, ulta, yata praja tata raja. So whoever gets there is getting there for only selfish reasons to loot and exploit. You see, the government of Maharashtra, everyone knows, police themselves have been deployed to collect money for party sake and things like that. But still nobody can do anything. Now what is going to happen in that scenario? See, in Tamil Nadu, for example, there was such a anti-Brahmin wave last 6-7 decades. What they did was they left that place and moved. They went to other parts of the country, they went to other parts of the world. What happened in Kashmir? The Kashmiri Pandits were driven away. They took their children and family to some far off places, and they started getting replaced when oppression happened. So this kind of displacements is going to happen a lot. And then there is also going to be a lot of man created famine, human created famine, lot of excessive oppressive taxes. The funny thing is, I can't get over this practical joke that people are played on in Tamil Nadu. For example, people are made to drink cheap, low quality alcohol because the profit margin is so high. Not that high quality alcohol will save them, but the thing is that high quality there will be a lower profit margin, so they are giving them spurious alcohol, cheap alcohol, and making people addicted. But who is profiting? Government, the people who are selling, and the entire ecosystem that is negative. So these kind of things will become more and more, is what Vyasa has told in the 12th canto. And there will be lot of quarrels, thirst, hunger, disease, lot of anxiety. A lot of things what we have is anxiety, right? And the lifespan of people will also come down, not because we don't have the health care, but we don't have the understanding with all these other diseases. And most important thing we should see, repeatedly he warns people that more and more people who are negative minded, with the stealing, exploiting, dasyu, he uses the word dasyu prayesu, mostly thieves. And he also says naste vedapate, that men will, you just look 100 years ago, doesn't matter what religion people were practicing, there was not much of the word called atheism. But today, in any country you go, atheism is almost deemed as a religion by itself. And that is gonna become worse, even more and more and more. So Vyasa's warning is really very disturbing. Now I want to focus more and more, and because let's as we wind down with this gloomy thought that what is going to happen now, one positive thing what Vyasa is saying is, hey, don't worry, Bhagavan Vishnu will take to you kindly, and he will take a Kalki avatar and he will come. But we have to understand, like we saw, the Kali Yuga has just started, and it will be not in our lifetimes that we will be able to see Kali's resolution. So what should we be doing? Because it is all about us in our lifetime, right? What Vyasa is telling is, in Bhagavad Gita, he captured what Bhagavan Krishna has said, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna has promised to come every yuga again and again and again to protect us. Not us, to protect dharma. And anyone who is following dharma, he or she will get the protection. And if we don't follow dharma, we are not going to get that protection. So the interesting thing, what Krishna has hinted and what Vyasa has hinted is, Kali Yuga is going to be like a desert. But you can create a oasis of dharma that can give you the protection. And by getting the protection or not is in your hands and my hands. So in an average life, we have already seen this concept many times. That's where it was derived from. Of the four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, when the Britishers came, since they could not understand Moksha, we said like, okay, we will reduce that concept and throw it in the bin. We took it out. We don't talk about Moksha anymore. Hardly. Except in few satsangas. And I'm talking about the average normal person. And then we look at dharma, As soon as we got independence, just like the word Bhakt, Sang have all been hijacked and abused, the word Dharma also has been hijacked and abused. It is reduced to the idea of Dharma as religion, and because we understand Dharma as religion, we try to make it secular. So we cut off Dharma also. We don't teach our children Dharma. Why? Because hey, we don't want to sound communal, like we are secular people. This kind of stupidity has crept in where we don't even have the basic understanding of what is happening. So let us understand that we have to reintroduce the idea of karma. When it comes, we look at from the prism of what is in it for me, what is in it for me, my senses, my personal ideas, my self gratification. It's not even the idea of a spouse or children or parents. It's all about I, me, myself. Now what happens? The spouse is supposed to, you and the spouse are supposed to jointly follow, protect Dharma, and in this dharmic journey you are going to support each other and make this dharmic journey as a spiritual journey. Not look at the spouse as a pleasure provider or someone who can get you access to more money, or they will give you some nice food or companionship or something like that. They are all that plus more. That plus more is what we have lost, and that plus more is where Dharma is. So the interesting thing here is we have in Kali Yuga, because we have cut off Dharma, we have reduced ourselves to abuse, exploitation, corruption, violence, everything. And we have literally aggravating that scenario by every time it comes one full circle, we have come one level down. And then we go around another circle, we go one level down. The only way to break that is to do this in the opposite order. So what is that I need to do? Why am I going down and down and down in this tube? Because I need to cleanse my vasanas. The only way I can cleanse my vasanas is by moving away from a sense gratification driven life. We are only chasing the sensory pleasures and not understanding what is the dharma behind. Now the minute you bring dharma into the picture, for example, let's take anything you happen in life, we don't look from that perspective. We look only from kama perspective. Kama not again as sex, kama as in desire. Now, if I deal with money, we immediately think that I am dealing with artha. No. If I make say $1 million, does it mean that I know everything about artha? No. I am not dealing with artha the same way let's say someone like a big company would know. They know the different dynamics of, hey, you know what is the trend happening next year? Should we place more orders in another country? How is the shipment? How is the transit? Lot of aspects they are covering. That is artha. Whereas what we are dealing is, hey, I am getting some monetary exchange for my karma's sake. So even if you may be making 200,000, 300,000, you may be having a lot of money in terms of dollars or whatever, but still what is happening is you are not in a position to talk about artha. You are only viewing from the prism of kama. So if we expand this idea of kama and move from a I, me, myself centered life by expanding it and including other people in the society, by including my country, my community, my people, humanity, whatever. By expanding that, we start understanding the aspects of it. So if I go and buy, I want a glass of water, I am very thirsty. So what happens? I'm looking from a perspective of drinking water. Is that right or wrong? No, there is no right or wrong here. We are not bringing the question of morality here. We are only bringing the question of what is the prism, what is the dimension of the viewfinder, what we are using. When we are looking from that perspective, I am only drinking, I need a glass of water, I am done. I don't have water in the house, let's say pure water, I need to buy a bottled water. I need to go get some money and I need to go and get a bottle of water. Now, I may not have the money, maybe I go work and then I make enough money, so I have to go and buy enough money to go and buy a bottled water or whatever. That's it. That's all the understanding is. We are again talking from it may involve money, but it is still from a karma perspective. Now, a person who is running a shop, mineral water, let's say he is selling Bisleri water. Now, Bisleri water, that person doesn't know anything. He knows that, hey, you know what, every day so many crates of water are moving. Every week I need so many crates. So I need money, cash flow for so much so that I can sell so many so I can make a profit. That's all the person can think. Whereas if you go up the chain, imagine the company that is bottling that Bisleri water. They need to make sure, hey, where do I get the bottles? Again, by the way, I am not promoting Bisleri water or bottles because both are bad for the nature. I would rather recommend you to carry your own purified container of water wherever you go, reduce plastic. But in this idea, what we are saying is the company is looking at, hey, I need so many, then they need so many trucks that distribute all over the country. What is the range? Now, can you have one bottling center? Can you have 20 bottling centers? You can't be supplying water from Delhi to Chennai. It is cost prohibitive. So how do we tap into the different resources? Oh, this one is a smaller aquifer, it will lose. So you see, the minute you are thinking from your bottle of water, you are only thinking from karma perspective, whereas the company Bisleri is thinking from a artha perspective. Now expand this idea. Bisleri is not worried about that if they take away all the groundwater for selling you and charging you exorbitant price to water, it doesn't matter for them. Coca-Cola doesn't mind buying all that aquifer water and selling you that colored drink that is anyway junk for you at a ridiculous price because they want profit, bottom line, because there is no dharma there. But if you are looking like, hey, you know what, I need to look at all the water resources in this country. Hey, China is building dams in Brahmaputra, so the eastern riparian regions are going to be affected. There is a lesser melt water, so even if we allow all the water to flow into the upper three rivers, like Jhelum, like Indus and other rivers, we will not have enough water. So what do? Now we need to think at comprehensive. We need to say like, hey, most of the districts in India have, if you look at the water table, groundwater table, we are already way past overexploited. We don't have a new name like super abused should be a new term that is put. Now what happens is, now here we are looking at from a dharma perspective, hey, how are water resources supposed to be conserved? So I am just giving an example that we are talking about only water. But are you looking from a karma perspective or artha perspective or dharma perspective makes a huge difference. Now when we look for anything from a dharma perspective, our mind tends to get purified because our mind is all inclusive and it starts respecting other things. When you are looking at, say, for example, cleaning up Ganga, you don't just say cleaning up Ganga, stop putting the pollutants. You are also thinking, hey, you know what, these Gangetic dolphins are very endemic. Only in Ganga it is there. How do we clean that? How do we protect that? How do we take care of that? The water color quality is so down. So we have even changed the way we do. People used to burn. I have seen when I was a child the dead bodies floating in Ganga. Today we have put an end to that. There will be like they will just put bodies will be lined up. They will put the dead body on a wooden pyre. It will barely start burning because the Russian demand is so much. They will just drag it and dump it straight into the water, and you will find dead bodies, corpse floating right next to you, half burnt and half. And there are all that stuff like vultures and crow that are pecking at it. Sorry for giving a gruesome picture, but what I am saying is that was where we failed to see dharma. But the minute we see, oh, Ganga, Mother Ganga should be respected, immediately the picture changes. So when we expand our mind, we can expand it all the way up to the cosmic level, but that is where we are talking about moksha. But unless we expand it to include all living beings, all systems at dharma level, we are not going to grow. The second thing I would recommend is for everyone to focus on moving away from the sensory world, to take little time to talk about, instead of looking at the body mind kind of intellect kind of thing, start looking and identifying your own atmic nature. Start living from that level. The other thing I would recommend is, now these are just suggestions. Feel free to follow or reject based on your requirement. Include some sort of Vyasa Puranas, Upanishads, Gita, or any other scriptures that appeal to your vasanas on a periodic basis as a part of your sadhana. And also, as a part of your sadhana, you have to be committed to your own growth. The easiest thing you can do that now, a lot of you, most of you are almost every week you are here. I see mostly new people who are coming again and again and again. These kind of satsanga, now I'm not saying this is the only satsanga. You may find so many satsangas. I'm kind of tickled and honored that many of you would choose to come again and again. That means that you are either finding some thing of value, or you are finding something not more interesting than this, so you are here. In either case, what is happening in a satsanga is you are having an internal transformation, and that's what we are talking about. Now, when we also are talking about all this, what is actually happening? We are slowly chipping and cutting the different vasanas we have. We are going through a cleansing journey, and in that cleansing journey our gunas are transformed, and these sadhana help. And what happens is, when more and more people start coming to satsangas like this, that makes them think, that makes them ponder, hey, how should my life be, how should my future be? Then what happens? There is a ripple effect. And that ripple effect is going to create a small ecosystem of Satya and Dharma. And that is exactly what we are trying to find. We are trying to find that ecosystem that we can build a small oasis in this desert of Kali Yuga. The most important aspect in this journey is twofold. One is the individual, two, the smallest workable viable unit, that is the family. Now, when we are talking about the individual, we already spoke about all the change in direction that is required for us to get that momentum. How we need to slowly stop identifying ourselves as the body or the mind or the buddhi, but start understanding what is real Atman, and we start going in that Atmic journey. But the interesting thing is there is a corollary that happens in a marriage. And that is why I told at the beginning itself there are two aspects. One is the individual, the other one is the family. When we look at family, we are looking at as a perspective of the smallest unit that can take care of dharma. Both husband and wife will have to not compete or not blame each other and say like, hey, you are not taking care of this. No, it is each individual's responsibility to put that foundation, whether their spouse is interested or not. But nonetheless, the family is the smallest unit, and if both the spouses are taking that responsibility and taking charge, what is happening? What really happens is we are able to raise the children in that positive environment. And slowly, when the children meet the rest of the world, they see there is a difference in standards. Because they are already rooted in dharma, they understand the value of dharma and they tend to stay with dharma most times. So you are creating a ripple effect. You are focusing, you are teaching the values of dharma to overcome the ill effects of materialism. You are teaching the child that don't look at the world through the prism of artha and kama, but you replace that lens with a broader one, bigger one, and a nicer one, that is dharma. Now this dharma has to be upheld and protected at all times. When we protect the dharma, that dharma will in turn come back and protect us. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Dharma means that which is upheld, but dharma also means that which holds you up also. So it has both the meaning. Now we can definitely reverse the Kali Yuga effects in our personal life. We are not Bhagavan in the sense that we go and change the entire evil effects of Kali Yuga totally with a sankalpa. We can't do that. But at an individual level, there is a spark of divinity in each one of us, that each one of us can create that mini ecosystem, that mini oasis. And it is our responsibility and duty, especially towards the next generation. One beautiful thing in Kali Yuga, you can also see in Kali Santarana Upanishad, how Kali also has another aspect. In Satya Yuga, if you want to do meditation, you have to do 1,000 years. You see in all the Itihasa Puranas, all these rishis do thousands of years. Even asuras do thousands of years of tapas for getting their blessing. But one thing in Kali Yuga is, even if you do little, you will get the benefit. So you do even a little sadhana, like Nama Sankirtana. You do little dhyana, or you do little study of the scriptures. You do little sadhana, you get huge benefits, unlike other yugas. So with that reminder that you and I can reverse the effects of Kali Yuga in our personal lives, and to a certain extent we can even spread and connect with other dharmic individuals and form a small dharmic ecosystem. In that process, our gunas get transformed, and that ripple effect goes beyond the individual. So let us strive to imbibe this secret transform the household grahasthashrama as the foundation for dharma, and not view it like a place where our desires of food or companionship or money are only met there. Let's not look at it like that anymore. Let's look at marriage as a place where two individuals have decided to come together to travel along the dharmic spiritual path, complementing each other with their strengths. And once we realize that, every family becomes a factory, if you will, or a transformation happens in the society, that we will start reversing the trends of Kali Yuga. Let Bhagavan keep all of us rooted deeply in Dharma, because the way Bhagavan operates in this universe, it's called Dharma. With that, let's conclude today's talk series, and let's all take a second to think about the Bhagavan. Let's thank Vyasa again for giving all this wonderful wisdom and insights. So, forewarned is being prepared. Jai Sri Ram. Jai Sri Krishna.